Imagine this. You're lying in bed at 3:17 a.m., eyes wide open. Your phone is off. The room is silent, except for the hum of the ceiling fan. The world outside your window is still asleep, unconcerned. You stare at the cracks in the ceiling, and out of nowhere, like a whisper that bypasses your ears and lands directly in your spine, a single, uninvited thought drops into your mind. What if none of this matters? Not just your job, your degree, or your goals. Not even the people you've loved, or the fears that have kept you awake at night. What if this entire dance of existence, the chasing, the suffering, the praying, the winning, the breaking, was all just noise echoing inside a hollow theater? You try to brush the thought away, but it doesn't leave. In fact, it grows. You think of the billions of people who came before you, people who fought wars, wrote poetry, fell in love, birthed children, built empires, and now, they're dust. Memories without names. Gravestones so weathered even the moss has forgotten them. You think of your childhood ambitions, the ones that once made your heart race. They feel ridiculous now. You remember the dreams you were taught to chase. The house, the title, the status, the validation, and it all feels like a pyramid built on sand. And here's the real paradox. You've done everything right. You followed the script. You went to school. You played it safe. You chased the approval of people who don't even remember your birthday. You learned how to smile when you felt like screaming. You learned how to cope with a life that never truly felt like yours. But in this still, sleepless hour, when the world is too quiet to distract you, something in you whispers a heresy no one ever taught you how to hold. What if none of this ever meant anything? And strangely, it's not fear you feel. It's not despair. It's something more paralyzing. Emptiness. A vacuum where meaning used to live. A silent scream in your soul that asks, then why keep going? But you don't scream. You don't cry. Because deep down, you know you're not the only one who's felt this. Everyone, at some point, has caught a glimpse behind the curtain. Maybe it happened after someone you loved died, and the world just kept moving. Maybe it was after you achieved the thing you thought would fix everything, and it didn't. Maybe it was while watching a sunset alone, and realizing the sky was beautiful, but indifferent. Or maybe it was just now, right here, in this moment, reading this. If you're still here, you felt it too. That disorienting moment when reality starts to feel like a trick. When the treadmill you've been running on your entire life suddenly disappears. When all the things you believed gave life meaning, career, love, success, even faith, lose their flavor. So let me ask you, if nothing matters, why do we care so much? Why do we bleed over expectations? Why do we ache for validation from people as lost as we are? Why do we obey systems that reward pretending over authenticity? More importantly, if everything we chase is built on illusions, what's left when they all burn down? I want you to stay with that question. Don't run from it. Don't rationalize it away. Let it burn a little. Because what comes next isn't comfort. It isn't a motivational slogan. It's not about feeling better. It's about waking up to what's really going on, to the psychological traps we've all inherited, to the invisible lies that shape our lives and keep us running in circles. But before we go deeper, pause, breathe. If this stirred something in you, if your soul leaned in, even slightly, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because this journey doesn't just explore emptiness, it leads you through it to something far more dangerous, far more liberating: truth. Now ask yourself, are you ready to find out why this terrifying thought exists? Are you ready to stare into the void and discover who's really staring back? It didn't start with you. This gnawing sense of pointlessness, that eerie feeling that everything you do is just dust, waiting to return to dust, didn't appear out of nowhere. It's ancient, etched into the core of human consciousness, lurking behind every throne, every invention, every why we've ever asked. But here's the hidden problem. You were never given the tools to face it. Not really. From birth, the world told you stories. Beautiful ones, dangerous ones. Stories like work hard and everything will make sense. Be good and good things will happen. Find your purpose and everything will align. But none of these stories prepare you for what happens when the script stops working, when you do everything right, and still feel hollow. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." And he was right. We distract, we numb, we chase, we obey. We become performers in a theater of meaning, hoping the audience applauds loud enough to drown out our inner silence. But meaning, real meaning, can't be manufactured, and yet society treats it like a product. Buy this, earn that, join this, vote for them. Purpose becomes a brand, and we unknowingly become loyal customers. You see, Nietzsche didn't declare God is dead as an insult. He was mourning. He knew that without the structures we once relied on, religion, tradition, eternal truths, modern man would be left floating, unanchored, drowning in freedom, lost in a world where everything is possible but nothing feels real. And that's where we are now. Endless options, infinite distractions, and yet more people than ever are depressed, anxious, or spiritually disoriented. Because the more choices you have, the more obvious it becomes. None of them will save you. Arthur Schopenhauer called human existence a pendulum, swinging between pain and boredom. Desire drives us to chase fulfillment. Fulfillment dissolves into dissatisfaction, so we chase again and again, until we realize it's the chase that's killing us. The system isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. Convince you that you are the problem, that if you feel empty, it's because you're not successful enough, not attractive enough, not productive enough. But that's a lie. The real problem is that we're trying to fill a metaphysical void with physical things, followers, wealth, goals, identities. And the void doesn't care. It swallows it all. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, believed that our deepest human drive isn't pleasure or power, it's meaning. But not the meaning someone else hands you. Not the kind you find in self-help books or motivational reels. It's the kind you birth in suffering, in silence, in rebellion. And if you've ever stared at the ceiling and whispered, "None of this matters," then congratulations. You're not broken. You're awake. You're not malfunctioning. You're glimpsing the boundary between illusion and reality. But don't stop here. Don't fall into nihilism. That's the next trap. Because while nothing may matter in the way they told you it should, that doesn't mean there's no meaning at all. It just means you've outgrown their version of it. You're standing at the edge of a deep, ancient truth. One that can't be sold. One that can't be explained in a slogan or metric. One that demands your courage, not your compliance. And before we reveal it, you need to see just how far the lie goes, what it's cost you, what it's costing all of us. You wake up, check your phone, scroll through carefully curated lives, tap hearts on smiling faces, claps on fake achievements, and blue thumbs on distant tragedies. You sip your coffee, rush into your tasks, answer emails like they're sacred, smile when you don't mean it, laugh at jokes that hurt, and all the while beneath it, there's a strange buzzing, not outside, inside, a dull, aching emptiness. You carry it into boardrooms, classrooms, bedrooms. You bury it in shopping bags, screens, hookups, hustle, and goals. You name it: burnout, depression, anxiety. But these are symptoms, surface ripples. Beneath them is the real wound. You've become disconnected from your soul. Because when you build your identity on external structures, careers, likes, romantic validation, money, politics, productivity, then your existence becomes a house of mirrors. And here's the tragedy. You spend your whole life defending the illusion, fearing that if it breaks you will too. But you were never taught this. Not in school, not in church, not on YouTube. Instead, you were taught how to fit in, how to strive, how to polish your mask. And this is where the most insidious consequence emerges. You begin to believe the lie was you all along, that something must be wrong with you if you feel unfulfilled, that you need to meditate more, grind harder, set smarter goals, that if you just fix yourself, everything will make sense. But the self you're trying to fix was sculpted by a system that rewards obedience, not awakening. It gets deeper. This feeling of meaninglessness, it breeds invisible prisons. You stay in toxic relationships because starting over feels worse than slow emotional death. You stay in meaningless jobs because quitting would make you a failure in a game you never agreed to play. You overthink your truth until it dies in silence. You laugh when you want to scream. You shrink so others can feel big. You perform, and perform, and perform, until you don't even remember who you were before the performance. The system runs on this, not just capitalism or culture, but the deeper psychological machinery that trains you to abandon yourself to survive. Let's talk neuroscience. Your brain is wired to seek patterns, meaning, control. It hates the unknown. So when life feels absurd, when nothing makes sense, it doesn't seek truth, it seeks comfort. Cognitive dissonance kicks in. You'll believe a comfortable lie over a disturbing truth. You'll rationalize your suffering, justify your pain, stay in the fire as long as someone tells you it's normal. Even your emotions get hijacked. You're taught that your worth is tied to your usefulness, that productivity equals value, that rest is laziness, that vulnerability is weakness. So you suppress, and suppression leads to disconnection, and disconnection leads to apathy, and apathy, that's the ghost you've been seeing in the mirror, all while pretending you're fine. But here's the worst part, you're not the only one. This isn't personal, it's systemic. An entire society addicted to pretending, where silence is safer than truth, where deep thinking is a threat, where authenticity gets edited out, because it's not algorithm friendly. And yet, beneath all of this, something ancient still whispers, a low defiant hum in your bones that says, this isn't who I really am. You've heard it, you've felt it. In those moments between distractions, in the space between achievement and despair, in the split second, when the noise fades and you remember what it feels like to feel. That's the rebellion waiting inside you. Because the true consequence of realizing nothing matters is that it clears the board. It tears down the monuments you were told to worship. It burns the blueprints, and in the ashes you find a terrifying and beautiful freedom. If nothing matters, then everything is possible. But not yet. Because before you rise, you must first revolt, not against society, against every belief that ever made you shrink. You must choose not comfort, but clarity, not safety, but sovereignty, because only those who have been burned by illusion can carry the fire of truth. And now, you're ready. You won't be rescued. Not by success, not by another person, not by the next achievement, promotion, prayer, or plan. Because what's suffocating you isn't a lack of answers, it's the addiction to lies. The rebellion begins the moment you stop trying to fix yourself and start questioning everything that taught you you were broken. This isn't self-help, this is self-reclamation. It begins in silence. Not the kind filled with mantras or affirmations, but the raw, unsettling silence where you meet yourself without filters. No roles, no masks, no metrics. Just you. You, with your scars. You, with your chaos. You, with your yearning to breathe outside the algorithm of existence. But let's be clear, rebellion isn't loud. It doesn't always look like protest or poetry. Sometimes it's quitting a job that's killing your soul. Sometimes it's saying, I don't know, when the world demands certainty. Sometimes it's choosing rest over relevance. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre once said, man is nothing else but what he makes of himself. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to liberate you. You've been waiting your whole life for someone to hand you a map. But the truth is there isn't one. There never was. And that's the point. Because the moment you stop looking for meaning, you start creating it. Let go of the idea that purpose is something waiting to be discovered. It's not a treasure buried under trauma, or in some distant future. It's born in how you choose to live now, in the rebellion of being fully unapologetically human. It's in embracing the absurd, as Camus urged us to do. He wrote of Sisyphus, condemned to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity. And still, he declared, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. Not because the struggle is fun, but because the awareness of the absurd gives you the power to rebel against it. Here's the paradox you've been waiting for. Nothing matters, and that is precisely what sets you free. Because if nothing matters inherently, then you get to decide what does. If the universe is indifferent, then your smallest act of love becomes a revolution. If life has no instruction manual, then your authenticity becomes scripture. This is the true power of detachment. Not apathy, but clarity. Not giving up, but giving in to the truth that you were never meant to be a cog, never meant to be a brand, never meant to be normal. You were meant to question, to stumble, to burn, to rebuild. Look around. Some of the most awakened souls walked through fire. Nietzsche went mad chasing truth. Frankl found purpose in a death camp. Jung explored the unconscious so deeply, he nearly drowned in it. They weren't trying to win, they were trying to become. And now, so are you. This rebellion isn't about burning the world down. It's about refusing to live a single day asleep in it. So write what they say won't sell. Love like it's your first day on earth. Quit what drains you. Start what scares you. Sit with the silence. Ask the questions no one wants to ask. And when someone says, "What's the point?" smile. Because you no longer need one handed to you. You are the point. And you finally remembered what they tried to make you forget. You were never here to fit in. You were here to wake up. But there's one more truth. The one buried deepest. The one that changes everything. Here it is. The truth that breaks the illusion. Nothing matters. And that's exactly why everything does. Because once you let go of the need for some cosmic approval, once you stop waiting for the universe to assign your life a purpose, you become free to create one that is real, one that is yours. You don't need to be told what's meaningful. You are the author of meaning. Every word you say, every boundary you set, every act of kindness, rebellion, silence, or art you create, all of it matters because you chose it. You're not here to follow scripts. You're here to wake up and live on purpose, even if no one claps. That's the final liberation. Not that life is empty, but that its emptiness is full of possibility. A blank canvas, a field without fences, and the brush is already in your hand. No one is coming to save you, but you don't need saving. You only need to remember that you've always had the power, not to control everything, but to choose how you dance with it. So live, not because it's meaningful, but because it's yours, to shape. And if this journey cracked something open in you, if you feel even a flicker of fire in your chest, subscribe right now, not for me, but to remind yourself, every time you see it, that you've started something raw, something real. Stay awake, stay dangerous, stay human. You're not lost. You've simply begun.